This is right out of Roy Hunter's Art of Hypnosis book. He refers to it as one of the formulas for hypnosis, B-I-C-E. We have to start with belief, we have to have imagination, credibility, and expectation. And if you don't have those four elements in your hypnotic process, some elements of it will begin to fall apart. So they have to believe in the process actually being effective. They have to be able to imagine that they can actually make the change. The process itself has to have some credibility, otherwise they wouldn't actually come into the office, and they have to have the expectation that they can actually produce the change. And basically where we're going this morning is taking this formula and just layering it on top of all that we do. Because again, by taking these techniques, the thing I want to stress over and over, techniques that actually work. And by changing the framework of how we put them all together, that's where we can take our process from great to even more amazing. So let's kind of go step by step, because a lot of this is really marking through a lot of the work that I do with my clients. I want to walk through something which I'll detail this in more detail tomorrow, that's a sentence, which is that the way that my business world works nowadays, and this is nicknamed after something from a book called Book Yourself Solid by Michael Port, and it's the concept of the velvet rope strategy. In the shape of my local business, Virginia Hypnosis, you can't call me. And if you call me, there's actually a voicemail that now says, given the volume of calls that we receive, not all voicemails can be responded to. However, for your benefit, please head over to virginiahypnosis.com/call, C-A-L-L. That's where you may schedule a specific time that I'll call you back guaranteed, which saves you on the frustration of phone tag. I'm putting all the benefit on them. So what happens in my world nowadays, which the side effect of this is I used to have a really good problem. I'd get about 30 calls a day, which is outstanding, but not all of those calls were qualified. Now, because only a small select people go through that funnel system, we get like 2 or 3 a day, and they're all ready to book at a premium. Join me tomorrow at 4 o'clock. I'll talk about that in more detail. But the benefit now becomes, by the time I'm on the phone with that person, we already know what they're coming in for. We already know what their goals are. We've already sent them video testimonials and feedback surveys to further build up that expectation of the process. They've already filled out an application, so I already know so much about their goal and what their issue is. So it comes down to this moment where now I call them at the scheduled time. And it begins with the phrasing of, great, is this still a good time to chat for a couple of minutes? Fantastic. Well, you filled out the application online, and the way this obviously works is that we're going to talk about what your goals are. We'll talk about hypnosis, what it is and what it isn't, and then if I feel I can help you out, I'll explain how we can get started. Make sense? Which, the power of that phrase, by the way, just to pull a few things out of it. By asking that question, it has given me every bit of permission at the end of the call to make a sales pitch. Well, because they're calling a business. But I've completely explained the process. I've heard some people say, oh, if they call you up and ask you, how many sessions is it? How much? Oh, they're just price shopping. They're just looking for a bargain, which, no. What other questions would you ask? So at the beginning of that phone call, I'm able to hit them right away with, so the way that this obviously works is that we're going to talk about what your goals are. I'll explain hypnosis, what it is and what it isn't. And then if I feel I can help you out, I'll explain how we can get started. Makes sense. And by getting that yes at that point, I have the full right. So anybody who may be sales sensitive, I'm only leading to the next step. That being said, some of you have already smiled because you've realized something else that happened inside of that. How wonderful is it in the first 15 seconds on the phone with your client to land the statement, this obviously works. So to build that foundation where, again, they have that mindset of what is this, how's it going to go out, and just folding that into the process in a very polite, professional way. So clearly the way that this obviously works is we'll talk about this, we'll talk about that. Makes sense? And now we're into that conversation, which by the end of that, they know they're reaching out to a business, and I'm going to make that specific offer at the end of it. But the process keeps going on from there.